So thank you for taking the time to watch this webinar presentation on how you can actually get more clients for your B2B business or agency going into 2024. So I'm Harry Latos, CEO and co-founder of HGL Marketing. So what we're going to cover today is if you run a B2B business, that's any business that sells to another business, we're actually going to cover how to double your revenue in as little as 90 days with less input. Now, the reason that I say these numbers and these figures is because we've done this for one of our clients previously. And I just want to share the experiences, the lessons that we learned actually doing this for one of our clients and how you can do the same. It really comes down to three main steps that we're going to boil it down to. It's going to craft your Lamborghini offer. So this is sort of in the name. We're going to make a very shiny, exciting offer for you. We're also going to build a list of contacts that actually want to work with you. So there's going to be no cold calling to random people or sending cold emails to random people. It's going to find contacts that actually want to work with you. And then we're going to build your particular sales engine step by step. I'll show you all the methods that we use for our clients and that you can use to get more business for your business next year. So who am I? Just a quick bit about me. So I'm actually a Loughborough University grad. I was a mechanical engineer. It's funny, I'm going to go into the next slide now about how this has had no impact on my business. I don't do anything to do with engineering, but that's my background. I was actually an engineer, studied engineering, currently building my first online business. I'm 23 years old. I was previously a national level powerlifter, competed sort of the national level. I think I came 11th in the UK when I was competing, and I'm an aspiring seven-figure business owner. So we've got plans to reach that in the near future. So this is actually what you need to build a successful business or agency. So we are profitable and expect to hit 6 figures plus revenue this year. Currently, we're operating at 5 figures a month, but this is all without any previous experience in sales, any previous experience in marketing, or any marketing qualifications. So this isn't to blow my own sort of trumpet and sing my praises, but this is just to show you what's possible without without the experience and without all the qualifications that people say you need. So I didn't go to university to study marketing, never had a marketing job or anything like that, but I've started a marketing business. We made it profitable in the first year, and we're hitting some semi-decent numbers. So I just wanted to share with you the processes that we used to actually achieve that. And yeah, as it mentioned at the bottom, I used to be a full-time mechanical engineer just over 6 months ago. Now we're running a business that's operating in the United States, Singapore, Australia, and the UK. So I just want to share with you how we've made that possible. So these are the basics. Here's some fundamentals that we need to understand to actually get clients. And this is assuming that you actually have something to sell. If not, then you need to create it. That would be marketing services, consulting, software, training programs, anything that you can sell to another business. It doesn't just have to be service-based, it could also be product-based, but service-based makes it really easy to build a Lamborghini offer around. And we're going to go onto that a little bit later on. But we'll be focusing on how to get people to buy this particular stuff from you, okay? But it's really important to remember they don't buy the thing, they buy the result of the thing. So when it comes to our marketing services, people don't just buy the fact we can send LinkedIn messages for them or emails for them. They buy the end result, which is attaining more business and winning more clients. So that's rule number one. That's the basics. Sell the benefits, not the features of your product or service. And if you remember that, it's going to make it much easier to actually win business for your agency. So the problem with traditional methods of client acquisition, if you're anything like me, when you started your business or when you plan to start your business, depending on what situation you're in, you'll go to networking events and rely on referrals and potentially friends and family to make introductions to people to get business, right? The traditional methods are always networking, referrals, and to be honest, for me, when I started, it was hoping business will fall out of the sky. But the problem with these is that none of them are measurable, repeatable, and scalable methods to grow a business. These are three things that you need to grow a great sales engine that we've implemented. You need your systems to be measurable, making sure you can track the numbers, repeatable, make sure that you can do it more than once, and scalable. So the reason that networking referrals aren't these things is because it's very hard to scale networking. You can only attend a certain amount of networking events in a year or in a month, and it's potentially not a good use of your time. Whereas if you're using LinkedIn, email, Facebook, as I'm going to go on to in the rest of this presentation, you can get in front of a lot more people in a quicker, shorter period of time. So you might say, what's the best way to do it then? If the traditional methods aren't great, what is the best way to do it? There's only 3 true methods to actually get more sales for your B2B business. And this is content, outreach, and paid advertising. Now, although paid advertising can be great, outreach and content are actually more cost effective and are equally measurable, scalable, and repeatable. So if you're looking to get more business for your B2B business or agency, it's not worth relying on paid advertising. We've done this before, and we went down this route when we were just starting our business on LinkedIn. We were running paid ads, spending hundreds every single month and not getting anything back. Whereas we switched to just running content and outreach, which was costing us nothing, and we were getting business from that, right? So it's definitely much better at the start and to actually scale your business using content and outreach as opposed to paid advertising. So that's what the rest of this webinar is effectively going to be about. So here's how you can actually build your own sales engine step by step. There's 3 steps to building a great sales engine. So every great sales campaign starts with a great offer. That's just rule number 1. And we're going to build a Lamborghini offer today. Then we need the actual people to sell to. It's no good having a fantastic offer saying you can win loads of businesses, loads of money, and will reduce their costs to increase their profit without having anyone to actually sell it to. So we need people and leads who are actually ready, hungry to buy your services, and get in front of them to pitch them your offer. Then we need a method of getting in front of them and generating attention. So attention is the new currency. I was recently at Simon's event at Box Park. If you were there as well, you remember that he said that. So generating attention is absolutely key, and you need to be getting in front of people to win more business. I'm going to show you how you can do that today. So this is the importance of the offer. And this is the example that you may have seen online before. It's quite a famous one, but which one is easier to sell for $10,000? That's not a trick question. The answer is very, very obvious. Of course, it's going to be the Lamborghini. It's going to be easier to sell for $10,000. But why is that, right? It's because it's in high demand. It's a great value, product, and it would sell for way more than that. So the value's there. You'd do anything to get that $10,000 to get the Lamborghini, but no one would pay it for the beat up pickup truck, right? So this is the way it sort of positions your offer. Ultimately, the vehicles do the same thing. They get you from point A to B, but the way they're packaged is very, very differently. And that's really the offer. So your business or your service might get someone from A to B. It might be able to publish blogs for them, might be able to do content marketing for them, which is effectively the journey. But it's how you brand and package your offer to make it much more attractive. And that's what we're going to go over today, is how to improve your offer and what the importance of this actually is. So a great offer actually manipulates the market. So what I mean by this is if you have a great offer, such as selling a Lamborghini for $10,000, you can actually increase the demand for your service without doing anything else, just by making the offer better. This will mean you can charge higher prices and you will sell more. Okay. So that's just from the pure aspect of making your offer so good that more people will want to buy it. So everything stems from the offer. It's really, really hard to sell something with a bad offer. And it goes back to the example of the beat up pickup truck. No matter how good everything else is, no one's going to want to buy that. But with the Lamborghini, it's easy. And that's just because the offer is really, really good. So it's really important to have a great offer. What are 4 things that make a great offer then? So we've talked about why offer is so important, but what are 4 things you actually need to do to implement a good offer? So these 4 things are selling a dream outcome. So instead of, saying you provide marketing services, or you could do blogs, or you can do SEO, what is the dream outcome of that? For SEO, it might be more organic traffic to a business, all right, that will increase their sales. That's the dream end outcome. And it goes back to that first or second slide that I talked about, where rule number 1 was to sell the benefits, not the features of your product or your service. So it's really important to focus on the dream outcome. Second point is to use a given timeline. Make it, make people be able to visualize it. It really helps when selling something, is if someone can visualize it, then they're much more likely to purchase it and much more likely to give business to you. So an example of this is actually at the beginning of this presentation, I promised that you'll be able to double your revenue in just 90 days, right? And that's the timeline. And that's what makes it even more attractive. So definitely be sure to use a given timeline. Another really important thing is making it low risk. So especially if you're selling to other businesses, you as a business owner, you know that you don't want to take on risk, and neither will other business owners. So you have to make your offer low risk, either by doing risk reversal guarantees. If you don't get a said outcome, then potentially it's a partial refund or a money back guarantee, or you'll work for free until you've achieved it. But it just makes the offer way more attractive if it's low risk. The way to actually minimize risk and hit point 4 is social proof. So social proof means case studies. Have you done it before? What have you done before in the field? And why should people really trust you and listen to you? The more of this you have, the less you have to make your offer low risk, because people just trust you anyway. So as I go on to in a minute, social proof and your case studies and your presence online is one of the most important things to do with your offer. It's the reason, once again, why Lamborghinis sell for so much money. Maybe not because they're the very best engines or cars that have been built in the world, although they're fantastic. But I think you'll find people with the money to buy Lamborghinis buy it for the name, or buy it for the status of driving a Lamborghini. And it's the same with your business. If you have a really, really good online presence, social proof, and people want to trust you and want to work with you, then you'll be able to charge the Lamborghini prices, right? So that all comes from social proof, which we can go on to in a minute. But I used all 4 of these things at the beginning of this presentation. That's why you're watching this webinar. So I gave you a dream outcome, which would be to double your revenue. I said that you could do it in just 90 days with the systems that I'm going to show you in today's webinar, which is the given timeline. And I said you'll do it with less input, which is low risk, because you're not risking time, you're not risking capital to have to do this. And then the social aspect of it is, the social aspect of it is the fact that I'm on the HelpBnk platform, right? So you probably wouldn't be listening to this webinar if I wasn't promoted on Simon's Story or on the HelpBnk platform. So that really helps as well. So where does the social proof come in? I touched upon social proof in the last slide and why it's so important, but where does it actually come in? As I just mentioned, it's the reason why people listen to you and trust you. And it's the reason why people listen to me now, because I'm on HelpBank's platform, which has authority. So to optimize your social proof in your sales, you can do that through using case studies. So if you've got a really good case study that you've done for another business, or even for a friend or for someone in your family, but you've helped them in some way, it might not even be a business to business transaction. It could also be for personal training. If you've helped someone lose weight or gain muscle, that's a case study, and it shows that you've done something before in the field and you can replicate that for someone else. Also, publishing content is really important. So if you don't have loads of case studies and you don't have the availability to partner with other businesses and do all this promotion, just publishing content on a given topic will give you authority. We see this all the time on YouTube. People who start YouTube channels talking about a certain topic, they're usually known as sort of the industry leader or the thought leader on that particular topic. So just the core concept of publishing content alone will make you a much more credible source, because ultimately a lot of people don't do this. So it's really important to publish content. Another thing you can do is partner with other businesses, potentially your local area or in your industry, in your space. And it just, gives a bit of extra social proof, because people recognize the name you might be partnering with, and it makes you trust them more. So that's some ways which you can actually include social proof in your offer to make people more likely to use your services. So that's our offer. That's how we're going to create a great offer. So it was obviously giving things on a given timeline for a dream outcome with low risk reversal. So that's how to build your great offer. Now, when you've got a great offer, you actually want to build a list of companies that you want to target. And these are companies that we want to target that actually want to use your services. This is probably the hardest bit of the equation, because it's very easy coming up with your offer and saying that you can generate businesses 10 more leads every month or they don't pay. But to actually find businesses that need more leads is another question. Instead of just, spamming it to absolutely everyone, where you'll get a lot of people who aren't interested, it's really important to try and filter down and find the contacts and the leads and the companies that would be interested in your services. Here's 5 ways that we actually do that, and we call them intent triggers. So The reason it's sort of a trigger is it shows if they're doing one of these intent triggers, then they're likely to want to need more business or want more business or want to grow. So the first one is attending events. I'm going to go into a specific thing you can do on LinkedIn with attending events, but just in general, it could be a local event or an online event. But if people are attending events that they've got interest in that particular topic, you guys attending this event now, you're interested in growing a business. So if someone was selling a service to potential business owners, aspiring business owners, then this would be a great group to target. You could do the same thing online. You could go to LinkedIn and look for potentially, I'm going to go to the SEO example again, SEO events. If people were interested in getting more organic traffic for their website, they would attend an SEO event. And there you have a list of 20, 30, maybe even 100, 200 people, which are actively looking for something, and you can pitch them a service and solution that will help them. So just find what events there are that your ideal clients would be attending, and then pitch to them and use your offer to those prospects. Another one would be job postings. So if you sell marketing services, you run a marketing agency, you could look for companies that are hiring for a marketing manager or a marketing assistant. This indicates, firstly, that they're growing by taking on more team members. But secondly, that they need some assistance or help or growth in the marketing department. So you could search Indeed, you could search LinkedIn, you could search job boards and find companies that are hiring for a marketing manager or whatever role effectively that you would replace, and then go in with the pitch. So for example, for us, we would look for companies that are hiring for a sales representative or a sales development representative, an SDR. And instead of them paying someone on a wage where they have to worry about national insurance contribution, tax, holiday, sick pay, everything like that, they'd have to worry about any of that. They can just employ us to run the sales campaigns for them at a cheaper cost, and we will guarantee that we do more output than a sales member on their team would. So it's just a great way to find companies which might be interested in your particular services if they've got particular job postings open. Another one is company growth. So if a company is growing rapidly, then they're very likely looking for new opportunities or somewhere to spend their money with marketing once again, or SEO, or whatever business that you actually provide. If it's a software, you could, be offering a new accounting software, for example. And if companies are growing rapidly, you could say, hey, I've seen your rapid growth. I'm sure this comes with all sorts of problems with managing your finances, managing your costs. We've got a solution that helps businesses like yours reduce their costs by using our accounting software, right? But you're using the fact that they're growing to help you. And I'll show you some tools where you can actually physically go on there and find these companies that have got growth of, say, 5 to 30% in a year, and you can target them and use that data when reaching out to them. Because it's so personalized, it will impress them as well. Another thing is the technology being used. So that example that I just gave now with the accounting software, you can actually use the tool which I'm about to show you to find which technologies companies are using. So if they're using a specific accounting software, you could mention that. So I could say, hey, I saw you using Xero accounting software. Have you ever considered an alternative, or something like that? So that's going to be on the tool that we're going to talk about next, is how to find what technologies companies are using and use that as well. And the final thing that we use, which is a bit more niche and may not be as applicable, is recent funding. So we can find companies that have recently been funded, whatever round of funding it is. It's very likely that they want to put this funding to spend somewhere, potentially in marketing, potentially in whatever service that you have to sell. If it's to help a business grow, they're very likely going to be interested if you can help them grow and they've just received funding. Because that will be the whole objective of the business once it's received funding, is just simply to grow. So finding these intent triggers, these are some tools that we use. Please feel free to note them down and have a look at them after the call. We use one called clay.com. This is a massive sort of database where you can find companies that are hiring for specific jobs, companies that have just received funding, companies that are growing rapidly. There's so many different ways you can use Clay, and that would be a whole different webinar presentation on it by itself. But Clay's a really effective tool in finding businesses that would be open to exploring what you what you sell and what you provide. Another one is Apollo.io. So on the last slide, I mentioned finding companies with job postings, finding companies that have been funded, finding companies that are growing, and what technology they're using. Pardon me. Apollo will help you do that. You can search for all of these things. You can search for a list of companies in the UK between a certain size that are hiring for a marketing manager, and it will give you a list of all of them. You can do the same for funding companies that have just been funded. You can do the same for companies that have just started using a technology. Now, it will be more limited on technologies, but the application for Apollo is huge. It's really cost-effective way to get data, and it will give you people's phone numbers, email addresses, and LinkedIn profiles, which we're going to go into in the rest of the video on how you can actually use these to reach out to those prospects. Another tool that we use is LinkedIn and Facebook. So these are more for the events and the groups type of things. So an example for Facebook is if you're selling, once again, SEO services, you could go into a group where there's people who are researching SEO services, or it could be an SEO Facebook group. And there you'd probably find people who are interested or were interested at some point in improving their SEO. And then you can message them with your brand new offer. So we've got the offer covered. We've got the actual contacts covered. Now it's just, how do we reach out to them? So we've got our offer, we know who to target, but how do we reach out to them? So these are three methods that we personally use, and this is how I built my business, pretty much just using these three. So they definitely work, and I'll show you how to effectively use all of them. Before I do that, I'm just going to quickly check the chat to make sure there's no questions in the Q&A. Perfect. Okay, let me get back to it. So the first one being email outreach, second one being LinkedIn outreach, and the third one being Facebook outreach. I think there's a message in the chat now. I'm just going to check this. Ooh. Can we get the presentation after? I believe you can. I believe we can get the presentation after. There'll be a recording, but I can also download this presentation and send it out. No problem. So if I just go back to here. So as you can see, these are all orientated around outreach, because these are things that we can physically control. Content, of course, we can control how much we put out there, but it's harder to measure exactly what we get back. With outreach, you usually get a certain set percentage. So for example, if we message 100 people, usually around 5% will respond. With content, it's much harder to dictate the performance, and it can be harder to forecast that way. So that's why we built our business on outreach. It's more predictable, more measurable, and more scalable in a sort of measured fashion for us. A key point to remember with outreach is genuinely more is better almost always. Of course, you want to be optimizing for personalization and quality where you can, but there's, it goes back to, I was saying that sales is basically a numbers game, and it's very true. This is what I've experienced in my business, and I think a lot of business owners say the same. The more you can do, the more emails you can put out, the more LinkedIn messages you can send, the more calls you can make, the better you'll perform, the more clients you'll close, and the larger your business will get. So just bear that in mind. If you're sending out 5 messages on LinkedIn or 5 emails and you're wondering why I haven't got any business, you're not doing enough. So you need to be doing quite a lot of volume with these, and it does take time. Nonetheless, let's get straight into email outreach. So this is the biggest one that we actually use for our business currently. Usually books us on average, when we run our campaigns, about 1 sales call a day without us having to send anything manually. So we use Apollo to export our email addresses for the contacts we want to target. I'll give you an example. Say we found a list of companies that are hiring for a sales manager or a sales accountant. Then we can basically export that list of contacts, put it into our email software, which we use one called smartlead.ai, which I can say here. And I would highly recommend that for anyone looking to do email outreach for their business. And we can send personalized messages at scale automatically using this. So once we get the email address from Apollo, all we need to do is create the script that we can send them, which will ultimately be our offer. And then we can send these using SmartLead, and we just monitor the responses. The software sends everything for us. We don't have to do anything manually. And I believe SmartLead is about $39 a month, so it can be very cost effective. Just to put it to perspective, we send around 100,000 emails a month across all of our clients. So we understand really what works in the market and what doesn't work in terms of offers and scripts. The best performing scripts by far is keeping it very short and getting them to micro commit. So what I mean by micro commitment is you're not going to be able to get the call or sale straight away. It really doesn't work like that. You have to build some sort of relationship up and some sort of rapport with your prospects. So the way that we do this is we obviously would pitch our offer saying that we could, double business's revenue in 90 days. But instead of saying, do you want to use this or do you want to book a call with us straight away? We would say, do you mind if I send over a personalized video explaining a little bit more about our process? Or do you mind if I send over this free ebook that we generated to help businesses like yours grow? It would be giving more value, but it gets them to micro commit because psychologically and subconsciously, if someone says yes to a really small thing like that, you've got them on a string of yeses, right? And it's just, you have to just get a slightly bigger yes each time. So the first yes might be, okay, you can receive our personalized video. They've said yes. Subconsciously, they've said yes. Then the next ask would be, oh, would you like to jump on a call to learn a little bit more? Then they're more likely to say yes. And then it will continue up until we get the sale. So just don't go for that sale straight away because you'll get so many no's. Start really easy, start really light, and get people in that chain of micro commitments where the commitments grow slightly bigger each time. And not all of them are going to convert. That's just not the nature of sales, but your chances are enhanced massively by getting people actually on this chain of value and on this chain of commitment. So that's definitely what we recommend. Invite them to learn more, to join a webinar that you're hosting, to build a relationship, to send an ebook, just to exchange some value. That's really how we see email working best, just because so many people just going directly for the sell, directly for the pitch, that you got to stand out. And the way to do that is just by giving. And then, when they want to learn more about your service, they will. All right. And there's always a time to sort of ask as well for the sales call and stuff like that as you go on. But have that ethos, and it's the same methodology that HelpBnk uses. Is give with value, and people will feel like they owe you something, right? It's the same with the outreach methods that we use here. Just going to check the chat again because I think we've got a question. How can you automate LinkedIn outreach to save time? Fantastic question. LinkedIn is my next topic, so I'll explain that in here. So LinkedIn outreach. So to automate it, firstly, I'll answer that question. We use a software and a tool called Dripify.io. I believe this is about £60 a month, so it can be expensive depending on your budget, but it allows you to send hundreds of messages every month without you having to lift a finger, as opposed to doing it manually. So Dripify is a really good tool. And I'll have my contact details at the end. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to send over some templates, strategies, scripts that we use on Dripify to book us calls. But Dripify is a really good tool to automate your LinkedIn connection sending. But this is a slightly different strategy, which will be able to get you way more calls in a shorter period of time, just because of one little secret that people forget about when they use LinkedIn, and not a lot of people know. But we actually use LinkedIn's events and groups. So you can message people that are attending links and groups, and you can message them if they're attending a LinkedIn event or a group without being connected to them. So usually the way LinkedIn works is you have to be connected with someone to send them a message. However, if they attend an event or they're in a group, you have that in common already, and LinkedIn sees that as some sort of connection. So you don't have to have a physical connection with them. This means you can message so many more people than you would be able to. For example, I've been building my LinkedIn network for a year. I've got about 3,500 connections in there. And if I join a LinkedIn event or a group, I can send as many messages as I want. I'm not just limited to those 3,500 people across the world. So you can see how it makes a huge difference, especially if you're just starting LinkedIn, to actually attending these events and attending these groups. Another great thing is to actually find one, as I mentioned earlier on, to find an event or a group that's filled with your prospects. So I'm going to keep going back to this SEO example, but it applies to any example, right? Even if you're selling personal training or coaching or consulting, it could be coaching for sales in the finance space, for example. So I guarantee that there'll be LinkedIn event out there that will be sales coaching and it'll be filled with financial professionals. And what you can do is say, hey, I saw you were attending the sales training group. Just wondered, have you got an interest in this, or are you looking to, enhance your sales skills or something like that? Start the conversation, learn a little bit more about what they're looking for from it. And then you can go in with offering them some free value or potentially going in straight for a sales call. But find somewhere where the people attending these events or in these groups will have something in common, and use that point of relevance to start the conversation. It's way better than just saying, hi, we do coaching for financial professionals. Are you interested? You're not going to have a chance sending that, honestly. Whereas if you say, hey, I came across your profile when searching for other like-minded individuals attending sales coaching events, just wondered, what are you looking from this? Like, what are you looking to gain from this sort of thing? Right? It's much more open-minded, much more conversational, and you'll get a much better response rate doing that. So it's just worth bearing in mind. Lead with your offer, but make sure your LinkedIn profile is optimized in the back end. People do actually make judgments on LinkedIn. It's a professional network. So, don't have any silly pictures of you or anything like that. If you're wondering how to optimize it, I do actually have a video on my YouTube as well. I can link somewhere of how to optimize your profile, but you just want to optimize it with social proof, case studies, and things like that. We've got another question in the Q&A, so I'm just going to double check. Can you use that software for follow-ups for connections? I would like to know if I can automate my follow-ups after a connection. Yes, you can. You can indeed. So once again, I think it would be best potentially for us to connect after this call on LinkedIn, and I can show you the system that we use. But the system we use on LinkedIn is it will view someone's profile, engage with them, like their posts before we even send the connection. So they're warmed up to us already. Then we'll send the connection. If they do accept, fantastic, we can send them a message. If they don't accept, then we can continue to engage with their profile, send them an in-mail message, because you get 20 in-mails a day, and continue to engage with the profile until they do accept. So that's the way that we typically do things. Got another chat. My pleasure. So that was LinkedIn outreach. Now, the final one we're going to cover today is Facebook outreach. And this is actually really, really good. And I think it gets overlooked by so many business owners. I know when I first started, for the first few months, I was just focused on LinkedIn and it worked really well, but I missed out on Facebook because I just didn't think it was as professional. And I didn't think it would have, relatively young business owners on there. I thought it was for, older mums, if I'm honest. So, but Facebook is actually really good for finding and leveraging other people's content and other people's networks to find leads for your business. This is a bit cheeky, this approach, but I'm going to share with you exactly what we do, and it works really well. So some people have spent years building up thousands of contacts in their group. So you could see potentially, if you're looking for, once again, SEO, there'll be loads of SEO Facebook groups with thousands and thousands of people in there. Someone has built that up through their connections, through their network, right? And that group ultimately has a lot of needs which that person who created the group, they can't solve. They may have been able to solve all the needs initially, or they may still be able to solve that need, but they can't go to everyone. There's thousands of people in these groups, so there's a lot of people out there looking for ways which they can be helped. So the way that we actually generate traffic from Facebook groups and effectively find more business or find more clients is by solving people's problems in Facebook groups. We know that the biggest problem when we speak to businesses is their lead generation and getting more business, winning more business, having more sales. So number one thing. So if we start producing content on how we can help other businesses make more sales, put that in Facebook groups, then it will generate attention. So first of all, it has the benefit of adding to the group. So potentially the owner, if you're not self-promoting your posts too much, the owner of the group will be happy with you providing value, but you can also use it as a bit of a lead magnet. So here's what I mean by that. An example could be, here's a presentation on how we doubled our clients' revenue in 90 days. Just comment revenue and I'll send it over. So that's something you can do, and you can change the wording to match what you sell and what your service is. But you're going to get loads of comments in these groups. Just find the active groups and you'll definitely get comments if you do something like this. Then people are identifying for you who's interested. You haven't got to go one by one and message every single person in that Facebook group to see who is interested. They're going to come to you. So it's a really good way of finding and filtering out high intent leads really quickly. Just an example, I didn't think this would work at all. So I went in a recruitment group. We primarily sell to recruitment companies and help them with their client acquisition. Um, and I put a message in the Facebook group saying that we've recently helped one of our clients, and it was using the case study. And it was very similar to this. I think it was comment email, and we'll send over our email strategy. And I checked in the morning, we had something like 140 comments of people who were interested in seeing the strategy. So it can be really effective, and you can get in front of a lot of people really, really quickly. Some groups ban you to promote business. I'm the tutor in business. How do I tackle that? So you've got to be careful which groups you're posting. Of course, you don't want to be self-promotional too much. And I'd say the main thing, the main combat around that would probably be just have it more value oriented. Just have, here's how you can do XYZ for, your tutoring. Here's how you can do XYZ for learning a particular thing in whatever topic you're tutoring for. Try and have it less salesy and more educational. And you actually find that the more educational you are and the more value that you provide, people will engage with it more, and they'll view you as that authority figure in the tutoring space, and they'll come to you more. So it doesn't just have to be as sort of self-promotional as this. It could just be, here is the exact system that we use to do this. I'm not asking for anything in return. You guys just consume that and absorb it. However, of course, some groups will still see this as self-promotional. You can speak to the admins, you can message them and say, what sort of content are you happy with me posting, and then sort of go around from there. But that's probably what I'd recommend, is try and make it as value-driven and as educational as possible. No problem. So those are three main methods: using LinkedIn, Facebook, and email. But the most important thing is having faith and believing in the process. So Rome was not built in a day, and neither will your business be. These things just simply take time. It takes months of emails, LinkedIn, Facebook messages to see results. But if you stay consistent, you'll easily double your revenue, and it's just a matter of getting in front of the right people and generating more attention, which you can do through each of these methods, which are measurable, repeatable, and scalable. So it's very easy. If you're generating 1 or 2 sales calls a week from 100 or 200 messages, it's very easy to forecast that if we do 400 messages next week, we could potentially double the amount of sales we're getting. How do we make 400 messages happen? We either use software, we use team members, we use virtual assistants. It's very easy to forecast what sort of numbers you can be expecting, and it's quite easy to just scale based on the inputs. The inputs are very much tied to the outputs here. The more you do, the more you get back. So I think outreach and content are great ways to actually grow your business, especially using those 3 methods. So this is where you can find me for business inquiries. That's my email, Harry@HL Marketing. You can visit my YouTube channel, connect with me on LinkedIn. We're at the Q&A part of the session now. Just want to check how we're doing for time. Nice and early, fantastic. So we've got loads of time for Q&A, and I'm happy to run through anything. So how do you track your responses to your content? Really good question. Thanks, Bob. So the main place that we actually publish content, it's going to be LinkedIn and Facebook. So with Facebook, it's very easy to see who's obviously responding in terms of who's commenting. And then on LinkedIn, once again, it's very easy to see who's liking and commenting your posts. The way that we do this is actually we use just a Google Sheet. It's very simple, very basic, but it's easy to have your leads there in place. And then what we do is we schedule follow-ups. So we've got it in a sheet where we'll literally just put the lead's name, if they've commented, in a spreadsheet, and then we'll have follow-up 1, 2, 3, and we always do a minimum of 3 follow-ups with this lead who's showing intent. We'll message them 3 times if they don't respond, to see if they're interested in learning more, getting one of our free resources, or booking a call. But ultimately, that's quite a manual process. I'm sure there's Zapier automations and integrations that you can include to automate this. But the way that we do it is we just take the interested leads, put them on a spreadsheet, so we've got them in the database, and then we can always check back with them in a month's time if they never responded to our messages. But that's really how we do it, is we just manually note them down in our spreadsheet for everyone who's engaging with our content, be that commenting or liking on the posts. Can you go back to your social slide to connect? Yes, I can indeed. Oh, I'll close this. So this is where you'll find me. I'm just going to answer some of the other questions. Have you used any other social platforms like TikTok for content creation? I do use TikTok now and again for content creation. It's not as promotional for my business. Now, the reason for this being, this is a really good point, which I'm going to touch upon, is you want to basically publish content or outreach to your prospects where they hang out online. So I know if I'm selling to recruitment agency owners, which are typically, I'm going to stereotype here, but between 30 and 50 years old, yes, a lot of them might be on TikTok, but for recruitment especially, a lot of that is done on LinkedIn, especially people looking for jobs, or if you've just had something successful happen in your career, usually the place you'll go to post is on LinkedIn. So that's why we go to LinkedIn, because we know this is where our prospects are most active. So it's different for each market depending on what you're selling. If your target demographic is between the ages of, probably 16 to 21, you're much more likely to find them on TikTok. And that's where you can either do content on TikTok, use relevant hashtags and so on and so forth, and trends and themes and stuff like that to generate attention on TikTok. But ultimately, it's really about finding where your prospects hang out online. That's definitely the biggest thing. So we tend to not use TikTok as much because we know that our prospects aren't really on there as much. And even if they are, they're not there in the quantity or the quality the same as LinkedIn. We find it much easier to convert leads that we've got through LinkedIn or Facebook as opposed to any other methods. I have trialed Instagram as well, using Instagram DMs. And once again, we just didn't see as good success. So it is trial and error as well. It's about finding where your prospects hang out online, and where you can actually find them and sort of engage with them. What would you say the keywords in your automated message and turns your connection followers to leads? Okay, what would you say would be the keywords in your automated message and turns your connections to followers to leads? That's a really, really good question. So what I do for actually turning the messages into leads, or the connections or followers into leads, would be firstly using the point of relevance. So why are we messaging them? Either they're attending an event, either they've just connected with us, or they've liked one of our posts. But it's to acknowledge that intent, because a lot of times, especially now, people are getting emailed and messaged from left, right, and center. They want to know what the point of the message is and where it's come from. So you can say, hey, I'm just messaging because you commented on our post, or just messaging because you've just connected my LinkedIn invite. Then I'd go in with pretty much just a soft offer, which would be explaining what you do. For example, once again, it could be doubling your revenue in 90 days. It could be increasing your organic traffic to boost your sales. It could be, if it's fitness coaching, for example, it could be to lose 10 kg in 6 weeks or your money back sort of thing. Going with your offer, and then just lead with social proof. So this is more of the sort of salesy direct approach of doing it. That's usually how we sort of do things. Is we want to be direct. We don't want to waste people's time. It's of course really important to build relationships and engage with people on a personal level. But if you're doing this for the purpose of winning more business and getting more sales calls, you want to go in with the relevant message, your offer, and then your social proof and your case studies and why they should listen to you and why they should trust you. I've had this on LinkedIn before a few times where we've gone too conversational and people have just been like, why are you messaging me? What's the point of this? Right? Because especially on LinkedIn, people can see your profile. They know what you do. They know what you sell. And at the end of the day, they know some sort of question or something's coming. So it's better not to leave them in the dark. Just go lead with what you really do, and they'll let you know if they're interested or not. But usually the more social proof you have, the more credibility you have, the easier it will be to get people interested. So I'd say lead with relevance, lead with your offer, and then use social proof, and then ask for a soft call to action if they're interested in seeing how you do this, if they're interested in receiving a free ebook, or if they're interested in attending your webinar, something like that, as opposed to just going for the call. Try and give them some more value. That's probably what I'd recommend. Next question is, are these free tools? If we do purchase licenses, how much we spend on all the lead generation activities on an average? So the tools that I've mentioned, let me just go back to the slide with the tools. So we've got Clay, Apollo, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I mentioned Dripify as well to actually automate the messages to the leads. So if you're looking for a sort of large lead generation tech stack, and this is if you're selling to other businesses, for example, a marketing service, an SEO service, coaching, consulting, then I would probably recommend getting Smart Lead, Dripify, and Apollo. And that's probably, if you want to send quite a significant amount of emails in the region of, say, a few thousand a month, it's probably going to cost you a couple of $100s. So I know Apollo is about $59 per month. Dripify is about $79 per month. And Smartly is about $39 per month. So you can do it for just over sort of $100, but you've got to obviously factor in the ticket of your service. If you're selling business to business, it's very likely that one sell will purchase these systems and these licenses for a good few months. So if you're selling anything, over $1,000, for example, or even over a few hundred, which you can definitely do for marketing services and other B2B services like coaching, consulting, content, then these tools will very quickly pay for themselves. They do usually have free 14-day trials. And I know Smartly does, I know Apollo does, and Dripify has a 7-day free trial. So you can maximize the free trials, get everything set up so you're ready to go and see what you get from that. But in my opinion, they're definitely worth the return investment you get. One sell will usually pay them off for a good few months, and then you can just focus on the profit. So that's what I'd say to that question. How are you getting clients in real life, face to face, in a B2B conference? Have you tried using Twitter and Twitter Spaces? I actually haven't tried using Twitter and Twitter Spaces. It's a great idea. It's a great sort of shout to use that. So I'll definitely experiment. And getting clients in real life, face to face, B2B conferences, just due to how many conferences there have been in the last sort of few months, there hasn't been that many. So I've only attended one. And the way that we've done this was primarily to use it as a funnel to funnel them to our LinkedIn. As I mentioned, just for us, based on our industry and based off the engagement we've had so far, we know that LinkedIn is the place to be for our business. It's where our sales calls get booked. It's where we nurture our leads, as in provide them content and they engage. It's just where we want all of our prospects to be. So what we done was we created a business card with a QR code on that redirected people to our LinkedIn page so we could stay connected. Another thing you could do is create a QR code that will take them to a landing page. So you capture their email address. But if you're going to in real life face-to-face conferences, my opinion is you probably not want to go for a direct sale there and then that day. You want to nurture a relationship with these people. So it's a great place to meet people. It's a great place to get to know people, but it's really important that you stay connected. And we're going to do that through staying connected on LinkedIn or through email. If you do want to get clients at a B2B conference, then you probably would need a stand. I think demos work really well, especially for B2B services that I've seen. The more you can show examples of your work, the more people trust it. And in terms of all the outreach, it really is just a trust thing. Once again, it goes back to the importance of the offer. People trust the Lamborghini because it's not going to break down as much as the beat up pickup truck. So it's really a matter of trust. And the more you can show your products, the more you can give demos, people build trust and they engage much more. You probably have a bit more success potentially using those methods. For the startup on call, what are the alternative to these paid softwares? So if you don't want to do the paid softwares, then I recommend just using a free LinkedIn account. This is how I started my business. This is how I got my first few clients. It's a free LinkedIn account. You can attend these LinkedIn events for free and you can message people. It's just not going to be automated. You're just going to have to manually go through, spend a couple hours a day messaging them. On Facebook, again, you can make free content using a free trial on Canva. Or you could literally just put posts in and you can message the leads on Facebook. If you want to do this completely for free, then I'd recommend LinkedIn and Facebook. Email, because of the nature of the beast, you have to send a lot of emails to see success. It's good because it's very easy to send a lot of emails, but it does require a little bit of capital to invest, in the region of a few £100 or a few $100 a month. So if you don't want to spend anything, I would recommend just investing your time in Facebook and LinkedIn outreach. primarily targeting those who are attending events, because it's just a great intent trigger, great way to see who's interested in what, and they wouldn't be attending an event if they weren't interested in it. So you can use that, you know that, and you can help answer their questions and answer their pain points. My pleasure. Thank you, Chantel. How do you get hold of university students and their emails? I want to promote it to them. So it depends if, once again, this is overly just going for B2B, so selling business to business. This would be more B2C, probably sell business to consumer. And for that, you'd want to be more on the content side. So the reason that B2B works well for email, LinkedIn, and Facebook is because it's easy to attain people's email addresses, business email addresses. However, when you're going to university email addresses and personal email addresses, it's a bit more confidential and a bit more private. So you've got to tread carefully around that. However, the way to tread carefully around that is to produce good content and get people to opt in. So you can build up a newsletter or an email list. It doesn't have to be that you send a newsletter to them, but just an email list of warm leads that have opted in for your stuff. So you could potentially send an email to the university, find people at the university who you actually want to target using Apollo or using LinkedIn, and potentially organize, co-host an event at the university that you can provide value for. Then when you're selling tickets or when you're giving out free tickets, you just want to have a lead magnet where you capture someone's email address to see who's interested. So if you want to sell to university students or promote them, how to grow their business or whatever it might be, or tutoring, for example, I think was your thing. So you could potentially co-host an event with the university, or if not, at least find university Facebook groups. There'll be loads of Facebook groups that people at that university would go to. I know there was a Facebook group for Loughborough, that's why I'm thinking of it. And if people were promoting tutoring or get your first free consultation session with whatever topic it is or whatever lesson it is that you want to sell, then you get people interested, you get people commenting, you get people wanting to attend the event, and all you need to do is capture their email address or some sort of bit of data about them, their LinkedIn, and then you can go and message that list. So I'd say for this, it's slightly different. You don't just want to start with cold outreach, potentially. You'd want to start with the content, the lead magnet that would get people interested, be that a co-hosted university event, be that in posts in the Facebook groups for universities, or potentially try and get access to the university's email list. Once again, this would be targeting higher, more senior people at the university, but you need to go with a really strong value exchange. What's actually in it for them? This is another sort of key point. I think whenever I run in these campaigns, you always got to think, why would the other person want this? I know why I want it. I want to grow my business. I want to make more sales. I want to, provide a good service to everyone, but why would they want it? So that's probably what to think of if you're potentially reaching out to universities to try and get hold of email lists or to co-host an event. What would be the benefit for them? And I'd always play off that. So that's a couple of ways which you could do it. You could potentially as well look at Apollo. There might be some info on there, but yeah, that's what I'd say. No, my pleasure. I think that's all the questions. I'll wait a couple of minutes to see if there's any more, but I think, yeah, we've got about 4 minutes spare. Hope everyone's enjoyed the presentation. And once again, if you want to connect with me and stay connected and follow this sort of stuff we do on YouTube, then please feel free to do so. I'm in the early stages of my digital agency. Congratulations on starting it. Would it be ideal to target local businesses in my area? It would be. This I'm going to say for it depends, honestly. It would be beneficial because you have that aspect of just going over the road and taking them for a coffee, and you can use that in your outreach as well. Once again, I'd still outreach to them, be that on LinkedIn, email, phone, or a good outreach could be actually going up to their business or whatever type of business it is, go into their local business and asking them what they need help with. Once again, that can be a slow use of time, so I would typically opt for the outreach method and just use the call to action, which is basically giving them a prompt to reply. Would you be down to meet up for a coffee? It just makes people it basically breaks down the barrier. It makes it a lot easier for them to say yes. However, I think it's a bit of a false sort of false belief that you have to start in your local business area. The reason being, we pretty much started in the United States. I'm based in Worthing in the south of the UK. We started in the United States, and this is where a majority of our clients are. We just identified a need there. So it's really about where your services have the biggest impact. We had the biggest impact in the United States because we're way cheaper than the competition and the staff there. I think also US people like UK accents, that played into it a little bit. But the main thing was the value proposition, right? Our value proposition was stronger than the United States because we're cheaper than the competitors, we're cheaper than their staff, and we can provide good results. So it really depends on where you can provide the most value, and that's where I would go to. But in terms of breaking down barriers, if you're learning as well, and if you're in the learning phase about learning what businesses want, then starting local is good because you will see better response rates as opposed to sending out a message to 100 people in the United States. If I'm from the UK, I might get 2 or 3 responses. If I send out 100 messages to people just locally, I might get 15 to 20 responses. So it's easier and quicker to win business if you start in your local area, but don't feel restricted. When should we start to look to automate that outreach? What would be our monthly income to start automation? Honestly, I see it as an investment and one that will pay off very, very quickly. It's just when you want to obviously make that investment. I made it straight away, and I wasn't making any money, and I invested in the automation. But I would say that it's good to prove your concept first. So I wouldn't say it's related to your income because it will work. Now, the reason it will work is because you'll prove it first. So what I mean by this is the automation will just let you do what you already do without you having to do it. But you need to make sure that what you do first actually works. So if you have a spreadsheet and say you want to message 100 people that are going to a LinkedIn event, then you would note this down, make a list of all the connections, make a list of everything like that, and see the numbers. Is it actually working? I'm not sure why this keeps connecting to my AirPods. Hopefully everyone can still hear me. But you just need to make sure that your concept works first, and then it's very easy to see what the automation will do. So if you're sending 100 messages or say 30 messages a day, and you're getting 3 sales calls booked a week, and then you're converting 1 in 3 of those, so you're getting an extra client potentially a week. That could be optimistic, but then it's very easy to see how much your investment will return you. So for me, it's not necessarily about the expense, because you won't, either way, whether you have nothing or a lot of money, you still want it to be a very clear return on investment. All you want to measure is the return. And the way to do that is to prove the concept first, have the numbers in your head of what actually works and what you can expect from it. And then when the numbers are very clear to you and you prove your concept and you consistently booking calls, or you're consistently in expanding your network with the right people, then you just know that automation will do exactly the same as what you're currently doing, but without you having to do the manual effort for it. But that being said, to give you a short answer, ballpark is basically as soon as you can afford it and still be profitable and still pay yourself. It's just one of the first investments I'd make in the business. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Thanks, Chantal. What do you do for closing those leads and retention for consulting? So what we do for closing the leads is I currently have a 1 call close process. A lot of companies have a 2 call close, where what I mean by 1 call close is typically on the first call, I will go in with the sales pitch and see if I can close them and turn them from the cold prospect into a client. Now, this is just because I know the market quite well now. I've had a lot of sales calls and I typically know the direction of where it's going to go. So what I'll do is just get an understanding for their current situation, where they want to be, why they're not there currently, and if we can help them get there, then we go straight for the sale effectively. But a 2 call close would be first call being a discovery call, as it says in the name, to discover what they want, what their pain points are, where they want to be. And then the second call would be a demo call or a demonstration call to show you how you'd help them get there. For retention is probably 2 key points off the top of my head. Of course, providing good results, and secondly, communication. The more you can maximize communication with your clients, the longer you'll keep them on average. So you've got another question for business development. Is this different when it's not direct sales? So I don't think I fully understand the question. Thanks, Abbas. I'm glad you enjoyed the presentation. Sorry, Stephen, I didn't quite understand your second question. If you're able to reword it, I'm more than happy to answer. For business development, if you want to do partnerships rather than sales, how would you approach it? Yeah, once again, I would approach it in a very similar way. We're just leading through the value exchange. What is the particular value you're going to bring to that partnership? Are you going to help? Thanks, Abbas. Are you going to help them generate more sales for their business? Are you going to help bring them more leads from your business? You're going to help them show them insights. It depends on the nature of the partnership. Of course, a lot of the times, if you're sort of quite a small agency, which we are, when we do partnerships, we're doing with larger agencies, and the main objective for us is to get more credibility, more authority, which will help us, effectively acquire new clients. But for them, it could be offering insights, it could be helping reduce their costs, it could be finding out what their pain point is and just always leading with that. So sorry, it's quite a generic answer, but it's always based around the value proposition to what you can do with the partnerships. But I would still use outreach. I would still use LinkedIn messages, Facebook messages, emails to reach out to potential partners, but just lead with the offer. Might not be the direct offer as in your service, but the offer would be, if we could partner with you and we could bring you XYZ, would you be interested in speaking? So still the end result for them. What do they want to get out of the partnership, or what do you want to give them from the partnership? And use the similar methods. That's what I'd recommend, and that's what we do. Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. I'll wait to see if there's any more questions, but I think that's probably everything covered now.